Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Scott Luton, and hey, it's Enrique Alvarez with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Enrique, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Scott. It's always a pleasure. It's been such a long time since I've been in this amazing bus that I thank you for inviting me again.
Well, great to have you back. We caught you for like one of 7 days out of the year that you're in Atlanta because most of the time you're traveling, making things happen, dealing with the movers and shakers, and of course the great Vector team all across the globe. So it's great to have you in the ATL, my friend.
Thank you. I really like being here, and I'm actually trying not to travel as much. So
Good, good, good. Hey, speaking of people we love, dear friends, Christy Porter tuned in from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Christy is always on the move, huh?
she is. She's always in a different city. I think she's been on the road for almost a year and a half now.
Wow. Christy, safe travels to you. Safe travels. Look forward to catching up with you soon. And Trisha says, hey, happy Buzz Day. That's right, everybody. Happy Buzz Day. Let us know where you're tuned in from. And we've got a jam-packed show. Folks, you know the buzz comes to you every Monday at 12 noon Eastern time, where we discuss a variety of news and developments across not just global supply chain, but really global business. Enrique, we got some great topics here today. We're going to be talking about how the manufacturing industry, especially here in the States, is trying hard to rebound, but it's going to hit some speed bumps. Hey, how are truck brokers leveraging AI? That would be interesting. It's also B Corporation month, and you're going to hear from Enrique and the gang just why that matters. All of that, which is fantastic. But folks, there's more. About 12:15, 12:20 p.m. Eastern time or so, we've got a very special guest joining us, the one and only Jenny Froome with Upavon Management. Enrique, Jenny is going to be updating us on the SAPICS annual conference in Cape Town, as well as the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards, which are now in their fourth year. Should be a great show, huh, Enrique?
Amazing show. Jenny's amazing. If you guys have not heard of her, she's very interesting, and she's of course the highlight of today's show. And talking about Africa, that's very important as well. As we know, in supply chain, Africa it's going to keep growing exponentially into the future. So I'm really excited about the show and being here.
I am too. Folks, you're going to be hard pressed to find two more positive forces of nature than Enrique and Jenny. I'm telling y'all, you're going to want to connect with them after today's show. They're doing such great work out in the industry, and I'm delighted to have them both here with us. So stay tuned, folks. Hey, two quick things before we get going here today. Number one, give us your take in the comments, whether you're tuned in via LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch, no matter. Let us know what you think. And secondly, if you enjoyed the show today, we'd love for you to share it with a friend and your network. They'll be glad you did. Okay, a couple folks here we want to say hello to. Hey, LK is back with us. Larry Klein. Great to see you, Larry. Hope you had a great weekend. Um, this is Andrew. He's back with us from England. Shropshire. I learned how to pronounce that last week, Enrique. It's not Shropshire.
Shy.
It's Shropshire. So great to have you back, Andrew. Looking forward to your takes here today. And T Squared, who holds down the fort for us on YouTube. Bring on this nourishment. It's coming. It is on the way, on time, and in full, my friend. Okay, Enrique, you ready to go?
I'm ready. Go
All
ahead.
right, let's do this. I want to share some resources with everybody. I want to start with the latest edition of With That Said that we dropped over the weekend. How about that picture, Enrique?
The picture's great. It looks powerful and it looks pretty good.
Well, then we captured it because this is one of the most powerful teams in all of global business. I'm telling y'all. Folks, with that said, it's our almost weekly newsletter. We published it over the weekend. We celebrated International Women's Day, which is March 8th each and every year, and Women's History Month, which is March. Now, one day, 1 month, 1 week, 1 quarter, none of it doesn't do it justice. We really try to stay focused on the incredible contributions and leadership and innovation and sheer brilliance that women bring in all industries, not just the global supply chain. And these people here, Enrique, Trisha, Laura, Catherine, Jess, Mary Kate, Vicky, and Amanda, that all make what we do possible at Supply Chain Now. Now, we also touched on, kind of as an also ran, Enrique, the importance of user experience when it comes to supply chain tech, new tools to help address 3PL profitability problems. That's the thing, folks. And Vin Vashishta, one of my favorites, he shared some interesting perspective on layoffs. Get this. He says layoffs cost 10x to 100x more than they save, Enrique. And Vin also offered some perspective on how to protect your team from the chopping block. You got to check all that stuff out. And our Supply Chain Now team is excited to be serving as a formal media partner for Gartner Supply Chain Symposium in Orlando coming up in May. 2 full days of interviews and a whole bunch more with movers and shakers across global supply chain. So watch out. Now, Enrique, did you happen to get a look at the latest edition of With That Said?
I did. And one of the things that really caught my attention, I'll two of them. One, I'll start with a quote. For people that know me, they know that I love quotes. And this is from Theodora Lau. And I thought it was very powerful at the beginning, celebrating once again the International Women's Day. And she said, just be present. It's okay to just feel and just be there together. And of course, she probably was thinking about women in general, but I think that could be extrapolated to anyone in this planet. Just be present. I think that is important, right?
Love that. What's the second quote?
Well, the second part's not a quote. I actually liked the recap on Manifest, and you and I had a chance to be there together, and I actually thought that it was very interesting. We were going to talk a little bit more about AI, but again, technology is just incredible these days, and it will continue to grow exponentially. So it'll be interesting, and I really had a good time at Manifest. Very interesting.
You know, we could spend the next couple hours with either Jenny or talking Manifest. Both topics deserve it. But 2 quick thoughts. You mentioned Theodora Lau, one of my favorites, folks. She is about to publish her latest book, but she's got some good ones. Beyond Good is what she published a while back. How technology is leading a purpose-driven business revolution, and then this one here, the metaverse economy. I'm telling you, Theo is so smart that she takes these really tough topics, complex topics, and breaks it down to where anyone, folks slow like myself, can understand and enjoy. So folks, check that out. And then second, Enrique, I'm going to tell on you here. First, let me make sure folks, check out With That Said. It publishes almost every weekend, and we'd love to get your take, just like we got Enrique's take on some of the topics. We'd love to get your take on this last edition. We dropped the link right there in the comments. Now, Enrique, you mentioned Manifest. Now, folks, I'm gonna tell on Enrique a little bit here. So Enrique was so supportive of this session I was leading, right? And we had a great panel. And we were taking Q&A at the end of this panel. Now, the questions started rolling in throughout the whole session. And folks, it was like Dan Rather, or it was like a intense questions. I was like, wiping my brow. And the panelists saw these questions too, because it's on one of those monitors facing the stage. And most of them were anonymous. And so we picked 1 or 2 of the safer ones because, we want to protect any panel, especially in the live chat, about some tough topics. And after the session, I was telling Enrique about these great questions, but tough questions that were on the board. He goes, "Yeah, that was me. You're hitting us with all the toughest questions known to humanity." But Enrique, all kidding aside, it was great to see you there in Vegas, and one heck of a job that the Manifest team did, huh?
Absolutely. No, it was great. And just for the record, there were only 2 of mine, maybe a couple others were someone else's questions, but you're very, very good at managing all this panel. So it was a good test, which you completely successfully passed as well.
Hey, we try. And that's some great, man. The panelists make the moderation
smart.
Facilitation easy, right? Okay, let's see, folks. Let's say hello to a few folks, and we're going to hit a couple of stories before the one and only Jenny Froome joins us as we talk about a couple of can't miss events out across global supply chain. So stay tuned. Let's see here. Hey, Connor Fincham is back with us via LinkedIn. Great to see you, Connor. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Michael Good afternoon, he says. Excited to be a part of the buzz. Tuned in on LinkedIn. Michael, great to see you. Michael, let us know where you are tuned in from. Let's see here. This is not, I wonder who this is. Amanda and Trisha, you're going to have to let me know who this is. And hey, Larry Klein says it's like Che and Jost on SNL, like Weekend Update. Okay, you're way too kind, way too kind. And that is Andrew. That's right, Andrew. Great to see you. Shropshire. Okay, Enrique, you ready to jump into the news, my friend? Oh, I got one more thing. So, necessity is the mother of invention. I love this snapshot of Deborah Dole, who founded the Circular Supply Chain Network, and who, in a recent keynote, Enrique was making a case for circularity. She says, "quote What if we circulate instead of import? We have lots of new ways of becoming competitive," end quote. I love that, right? She went on to discuss the ways that circular ecosystems could help protect against supply chain vulnerabilities and disruptions. Man, there's so much opportunities. Deborah, great. Appreciate you sharing this. We included some more thoughts here related to her keynote. And with that said, appreciate what she does. But Enrique, we have so many opportunities when it relates to true circular thinking and doing. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I actually was just recently talking to someone at Cotopaxi, and they mentioned the same thing. We already have too many things. So I think we have to start thinking outside the box, and circularity is a good way to resolve not only supply chain issues, but really a lot of other issues as well. So,
yeah. And speaking of issues and the latest disruption, we're keeping our finger on the pulse of the worker strike that's impacting German airports everywhere. I was reading this morning, Enrique, that the airport in Frankfurt, if I read this right, is not going to launch a single flight all day. How about that?
wow.
Gosh, the hits keep on coming. But to all of our friends in Germany and beyond, this has impacted. Our thoughts are with you, and we're going to keep our finger on the pulse and see how that develops. Okay, let's shift gears before we welcome in Jenny Froome in about 7-8 minutes. I want to talk about one of my favorite topics of all time. That is the manufacturing industry. So, Enrique, check this out. Reported by Manufacturing Dive, the manufacturing industry in the U.S. expanded in February. Now, S&P Global's February data via its U.S. Purchasing Managers Index reached 52.7 in the month. That was the reading. And that was up from 51.2 in January. In a similar set of data, the ISM Purchasing Managers Index came in a bit lower at 50.3. And according to their data, that was actually down from a January reading of 50.9. Now, you ask, well, what is a 50? Give me some context. Well, according to both of those sets of data, anything over 50 indicates that economic growth is taking place in the sector, right? So that's an important frame of reference. It's not meant to be the holy grail of indicators. And we talked a lot about this, Enrique. Hey, take these types of research pieces and add it in with dozens, if not hundreds of other things you look at. But before you get your hopes up, many say this is a temporary bump. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, spurred by anxiety and angst over tariffs and how they'll drive up many things, including input prices, says Chris Williamson, chief business economist at S&P Global Market Intelligence. Quote, "There's much to suggest that this improvement could be short-lived. Production and purchasing were often buoyed by companies and their customers building inventory to beat price hikes and supply issues caused by tariffs," end quote. Now, Timothy Fiore, who is the chair of ISM's Manufacturing Business Survey Committee, which is related to the ISM data I shared earlier, spoke about how their data showed supplier deliveries slowing, driven in part due to suppliers being not wanting to be on the hook for paying the tariffs. Fiore said, quote, "You can see that there's anxiety in the community because there's disagreements about who's going to be paying for this," end quote. S&P data also showed input cost inflation for manufacturers reaching, get this, folks, their highest level since November 2022. That ain't good. All right, Enrique, your response to what we're seeing here in the U.S. when it comes to the manufacturing industry.
Well, I can attest to that being in supply chain and moving different products for our clients around the world. And it just feels like people don't really know what to expect. And they're, as they put it very clearly, they're anxious about this. So we see the kind of more production and more orders come through trying to get ahead of the tariffs. And now that we have the tariffs upon us, then we're really trying to figure out whether they're going to apply, not going to apply, what industries are they going to apply to, what's the number. So there's still a lot of ambiguity out there, Scott, and I feel like the supply chain and the manufacturing are basically just reflecting what the world's living.
Yeah, well said. Very eloquent there, Enrique. And it would be easier. The disruption would be easier to digest if all the tariffs were announced start of the year when they were going to go into place, and gave our planning industry something concrete to plan against. But hey, we can't have everything we wish for, and we're going to keep monitoring the ebb and flow of the negotiations, you name it. So we'll see. Enrique, I want to, before we hit the second story and also bring on our guests, I want to welcome a few other folks here. Hey, Nuria is tuned in from the United Kingdom. I think you know her. Great to see you, Nuria. Michael, who we'd recognized earlier, Boca Raton, Florida, on his lunch break. Okay, good stuff. What was it? Was it Boca Raton that the Costanzas wouldn't let the Seinfelds keep them out of, or was that? No, that was Del Boca Vista.
Del Boca Vista.
Haley tuned in from South Africa. Great to see you, Haley. What part of South Africa are you in? And hey, this is good afternoon from Charleston. This user says, I bet this is, it'll come to me. This is Sylvia Judy. So great to see you, Sylvia. Looking forward to your perspective here today from the holy city of Charleston. All right, let's keep driving, Enrique. We got one more story we want to hit, and let's hit that next. Hey, if you ever ask AI to draw a picture of a truck, this might be what you get. This is what I got this morning. And notice, Enrique, on the back end, I count like 5 tires in that trailer. That must be a really heavy.
I thought you were looking farther in the back and notice the 2 cranes there from the port. That's what got my attention.
It's fascinating what AI can do these days. And I want to shift. With that said, I want to shift over to the art and science of logistics, especially the freight broker sector. Now, Enrique, I always enjoy seeing solid, practical examples of how supply chain leaders are leveraging artificial intelligence. Great read here via Trucking Dive that shares several examples, 5 of them, in fact, of how freight brokers are using AI. I'm going to walk through these, and Enrique, then get your response here. Number 1, freight and load matching. And in particular, where they're leveraging AI to add a forecasting element to the conversation. Hey, how about that? Quoting. C.H. Robinson, in particular, is using generative AI to read and reply to tons of emailed quote requests. The article said up to 2,000 a day. I wish I had that back in the day when I was quoting on metal stampings. Oh, my gosh. Trailer management. The company ITS is using AI to manage its growing fleet of over 3,000 trailers, including using AI models to help determine where trailers should be located. Peter Weiss, CIO and SVP of Supply Chain Services at ITS, says, quote, "We can't pay for a bunch of empty trailers all spread out in the wrong locations," end quote. Also, rounding out the top 5 or 5 of the ways, carrier recommendations and chatbots. And on the last point, Enrique, as I've shared plenty of times, it's great to see chatbots that finally are really effective and actually can get can offer more enhanced customer service than the first generation, huh? But what do you see when it comes to AI and how it's being leveraged in moving stuff? Your thoughts, Enrique?
Well, complementing a little bit of what you said with the chatbots, I was really interested to see on that article that you mentioned that they're not only used towards the clients or the customer service, which is what I thought initially was the main work or job for this chatbots, but they're used internally as well. So if
Yes.
you are an operations executive, now you have a chatbot you can ask, and then the chatbot will go into all the data that these brokers have and then come up with some questions and solutions based on the proprietary data that the companies have. So it's a tool. So we fear a little bit about AI and how it's coming to replace, but at least that's one very clear example of AI interacting and making people more efficient, more successful. So
Yes.
I like that one a lot.
That's my favorite part. How we can use all technology, old and new, to put our people in positions to find more success more easily, and be able to lessen the pressure that's on our teams across the globe as they look to get stuff done every single day. It's my favorite examples. So good stuff there, Enrique. Okay, before we bring on our outstanding guest here today, I want to say hello to a few folks here. Mesfin from Ethiopia via LinkedIn. Great to see you here today, Mesfin. Looking forward to your perspective here. Larry Klein says, hey, the only thing that stays the same is change. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Christy was dropping. I love y'all's newsletter at Vector, and I think what she shared, the latest one right here, touches on a lot of moving pieces related to the tariff news. Y'all check that out. Silali? Hi,
Citlali Cerda.
okay, I was close. Citlali from Mexico via LinkedIn. Great to see you here today. And Haley answered a question. She's in Durban, South Africa. Great to see you, Haley. Looking forward to you and Silali and Mesfin's perspective as we get into more stories here on the Buzz. Okay, Enrique, are you ready to bring on the one and only Jenny Froome?
Absolutely. That was the main reason I actually agreed to come here today. So,
that is
absolutely.
Right. That is right. Well, we have a wonderful industry leader and immense friend of the show joining us here today. Jenny Froome has served the global supply chain community in a wide variety of ways for over 30 years. Now, I've had the pleasure of collaborating also in a wide variety of ways ever since we met in Chicago. What a wonderful city. About 10 years ago. Now, look, folks, Jenny's way too humble, right? And I'm not going to let her get away with that. But I'm going to tell you, without Jenny, there would be a lot less impactful and trusted relationships all around the world. And, those are the ones that really change how business is done. Really important. And blessed are those connectors. And there would be a lot less home run events that allow those important connections to be made. So I want to welcome in Jenny Froome, director with Upavon Management. Hey, Jenny, how are you doing today?
I am blushing. Thank you very much.
Well, hey, we meant every syllable, or we don't say it here at Supply Chain Now. And we are big admirers. As you know, me and Enrique co-chair the Jenny Froome Fan Club Atlanta chapter, and it's great to have you back.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
So, Jenny, I'll tell you, Enrique, I want to travel like y'all one day. So I'm working on it step by step. But if you would, Jenny, you completed a wonderful trip to Ghana, I think, last month. Tell us a little more about that.
So we went off to Ghana looking at venues, and we went to Accra, and it was very reminiscent for me because I first went to Accra when I was 6 weeks old. My parents were there my dad was working for Barclays Bank, and they were there in the swinging 60s, and I think had a thoroughly lovely time. And I spent the first 4 years of my life there. Don't remember any of it, but it was very nostalgic going back and sort of seeing the stories that my parents told.
Oh, man. And what was can you think of just one food dish or restaurant that you absolutely just loved as part of your trip to Ghana?
I think it's the atmosphere that the food generates. You've got this big argument about the jollof rice, and is that Nigerian or is it Ghanaian? And there's a certain pride to all the different foods, and the fruit is always an absolute standout. And just the pride with which the food is the local food is served, and the expense of the imported food as well. That was pretty eye-watering too.
Oh, man. Anything with rice has my attention, Jenny. I'm a big rice and bread, unfortunately. All right. Well, Enrique, on a similar note, maybe not quite as exciting, but hey, Miami is quite a city, and I think you spent a big chunk of your week there last week. Is that right?
That is correct. I actually was there for the Disaster Expo, and then I had the opportunity and pleasure to invite my son, who was on spring break, and he came with me as well as my mom. So I had a really, really good time just being with them.
Oh, you had your son and your mom. That's like a double bonus. Love that, Enrique. And I'm not even going to ask you about the delicious food and drinks in Miami. Between Miami and Ghana, we might be here all week. But I want to do this. We got a lot to get to here today. In particular, two can't miss events that Jenny and the team are that lead and facilitate. And I want to start with this though, Jenny. To level set a bit, share a little bit more about your background that we were talking about in the green room pre-show, and some of the other events that we may not have a chance to talk about as much here today.
Yeah. So thanks. I have been in the event management industry since I can't even remember when. I started off in London, and then when we moved to South Africa, we started Upavon, which is an event management company. And our very first customer when we moved to South Africa was SAPICS. And so we have been managing the SAPICS annual conference. This will be our 29th year.
Wow.
I know it's impossible to believe because I only look 21, but it holds a very special place in our history. And so we are really looking forward to it. Particularly for me, though, what was really interesting was in 2004 when we actually were approached to do the administration of SAPICS as an organization. And that really spurred in me an interest in supply chain management and kind of made sense of the conference because you understood the importance of supply chain management.
Yes. Yes. And I'm so glad it did. I'm so glad that connection was made because, again, the industry is better off because it was made. And Jenny, we're going to talk about the SAPICS conference here in a minute. We're going to talk about the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards here in a second. But what's a couple of events that you want to mention that folks can check out?
Well, there are some really great events coming up. I think the one that's probably the most topical at the moment is the AmTech event, which is specifically focused on African healthcare manufacturing. And we all know that that has been hit quite hard with the reduction of aid and donor funding. And it's even more important now than ever to try to shift this statistic that only 3% of global pharmaceutical production happens on the continent.
Wow. Folks, you can learn more about that very timely, very relevant, and important event right there. Tricia dropped the link, and we invite you to do that. And if you're there, make sure you run into Jenny Froome, okay? You'll be better off if you do. Okay. Let's see here. I want to recognize just a few folks. This, I think, is still Andrew. So Andrew's talking about, as we were talking about chatbots before Jenny joined us, he says, make sure the chatbot gives the right answer as they can be manipulated. That's $1 million advice. They sure can. You don't want to end up in Ghana if you want to be in Miami. So double check those chatbots, right? And let's see, that was Andrew. Yes. And want to welcome in Akram from Casablanca. Hey, Akram, great to see you via LinkedIn. Pralay via LinkedIn from India. I was just looking at economic growth, and man, India and China. I think India's economic growth over the last 10 years was even stronger than China's. So Pralay, great to see you here today. All right, Jenny and Enrique. Enrique, first, I'll get you to comment on that last event that Jenny was talking about and the factoid. Jenny, only 3%, you said, of pharmaceuticals are made on the continent of Africa. It seems like going back to what Deborah was talking about, circularity and how, investing in more circular ecosystems that could move numbers like that up, that we could remove some disruptions from supply that would, offer a higher standard of living, especially if you're in need of some of these pharmaceuticals. But Enrique, your comment on what Jenny was just talking about.
Well, something that Jenny mentioned briefly is just the aid that has been taken out from some of these organizations down in Africa. And for me, you can see it in two ways. One, it is a shame, and we should probably think a little bit more about that. But I'm not going to get too political here, but the other thing is there's a lot of opportunity, right? So if you're listening to this and if you're actually having a chance to go to this conference or at least do some research around it, there is a huge opportunity for everyone from investors to logistic companies to invest in Africa. I have absolutely no questions whatsoever that Africa is going to be the future for the world in many different ways. So starting with the amtech.org.ca is important, and I think that could give you a little more information about that. And thanks for that. Bring it up on the link.
We're listening to every syllable you and Jenny say, Enrique. I promise you. One last thought, and actually this ties in well with where we're going next, Jenny. Whether it's the pharmaceutical numbers or if you look at manufacturing, and we've talked about a lot of this on previous episodes. How can we increase the level of production that takes place on the African continent amongst all the different countries there, rather than all the resources being offshored for production elsewhere? I think manufacturing a big opportunity and will be a big part, I believe, of Africa's bright future, as you point out, Enrique. All right, we're going to dial it in on a couple of things here, as we talked about. We're going to start with the 47th annual SAPICS conference. Folks, write this down. It takes place 8th through the 11th of June, 2025 in beautiful Cape Town, South Africa. And 47 years. Oh my gosh. If the walls could talk, Jenny Froome. But there's so much, as we're all talking about, so much sheer innovation and brilliance and change being driven across the continent of Africa, right? We've thoroughly enjoyed our long-running series here, Supply Chain Leadership Across Africa, very creatively named, which seeks to amplify all of that, then some. Now, Jenny, before we start talking about the SAPICS conference, when you travel the globe, as you and Enrique do so much, when you get asked about the supply chain community across the entire continent, what are a couple of the first thoughts that come to your mind?
Obviously, it's the people, and it's the skills and the genuine hunger to learn more and be more, and to be recognized as well, I think. And that's where organizations like People That Deliver come to the fore, because that's what they're doing for the people in supply chain management, is advocating for them. And especially at the moment, during difficult times of redundancy and furloughing, etc. I think that these organizations form a hub that kind of brings the community together. SAPICS too, it's the power of community is so powerful.
That's right. And it cannot be overstated. It really can't. When you bring people in a room together, off Zoom, off email, off social, face to face, it's amazing, the problem solving, the innovation, the relationships, the trust that gets built. Not taking anything away from all those platforms that that's how global business happens these days. But man, in person, it's irreplaceable. Enrique, the people. I love the start of Jenny's response there. The people of any industry, and for that matter, any region across the globe. But man, having been there in person and done lots and lots of shows illustrating those incredible people. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, culture and people, right? That those are two of my favorite topics, and I think that's of course why traveling is important, why visiting other countries is important, and why organizations like SAPICS are so important to the future of the world. Bringing people together, making sure that all ideas are heard, and making sure that all these great ideas are somewhat equally valued and applied, and everyone has an opportunity to grow them. So, no, innovation in action, I think, is the perfect motto for this year's conference as well, because it captivates that what Jenny just said, which is people.
That's right, Enrique and Jenny. And on a lighter note, if we didn't get together in person, we couldn't duke it out over a couple adult beverages at a bar, a lounge in Vegas, could we, Enrique? That was fun at Manifest back in the day. All right, so Jenny and Enrique, I want to share just a couple of quick comments before we move on back to the SAPICS conference. Akram is pointing out another event in Morocco, GITEX, GITEX. Akram, share the link if you can, and we'll share it with everyone else. Going back to pharmaceutical manufacturing in particular across Africa. Mesfin is pointing out an interesting perspective. Beside the high tariffs, the exchange rate dynamism cripples down the financial sustainability of the pharmaceutical manufacturing community. Excellent point, Mesfin. Excellent point. And I'm hoping, Jenny, to that end, the cross-continental trade agreements that we've seen in recent years, we're hoping maybe that addresses some of that, those complexities, huh?
The theory is there. We've yet to see the practice, but we remain hopeful.
That's right. Endlessly hopeful, and we'll see what happens. But it's about, to your point, it's about results. Yeah. Okay, let's go back. I want to make sure, folks, for you visual learners out there like me, 8th through the 11th, we got the 47th annual SAPICS conference coming up. The theme this year, as you see it right there in front of you, folks, innovation in motion. Jenny, what is, in your mind, some of the message behind that theme?
I think the theme came about, and I think it's a really great theme for where we are right now. And it's all about the dynamic approach and a dynamic out of the box thinking that we all need to do in order to survive, not just thrive in these VUCA times, but we've got to adapt to stay ahead. How do we do that? We do it with innovation, and we have to keep on moving. So I think that's basically what the theme is all about, and what we're all doing on a day-to-day basis right here, right now.
That's right. Well said. And if that theme is not about all that stuff, it should be about all that stuff, Jenny. Yeah. Enrique, respond to what we heard there from Jenny Froome. Innovation in motion. Your thoughts, Enrique?
Well, we're seeing it day in and day out right now with everything that's going on in the world. You mentioned the Frankfurt airport just a couple of minutes ago. We see like Tariff Tuesdays. We see that this whole global landscape is changing very, very rapidly. So yes, motion definitely being the key, AI, which complements everything. And of course, people, as Jenny mentioned. So no, definitely, if you have a chance to participate, I would highly encourage people to attend. And of course, a great country too to host it. So it should be fun.
Undoubtedly. And speaking of countries, Jenny, I want to say last year we had close to 50 countries participate?
Yeah, it was just under 4. It was just over 40, I think, all over the world. And that's what's so exciting for me, is to see that evolution that's happened. And that for me is an attention on Africa, but it's also what can I learn from Africa? And yes. I hate people who talk about Africa as one country. I'm not doing that, just for the ease of discussion. Right. But I think that that's something that's really changed, in that we always used to look east and west to learn about supply chain management, best practice. And now people are coming to us to learn more about what's going on in Africa, which is hugely exciting.
It is. It sure is. I want to go back, though, Jenny and Enrique, to something Enrique said. I didn't know this was a thing. Tuesday tariffs, or Tariffs Tuesday. Hey, I like Taco Tuesday a lot better than Tariffs Tuesday. Can we all agree on that?
Definitely.
But that's kidding aside, Jenny, I love your comment there, because instead of going east and west, we can learn so much from what's taking place across the continent of Africa, dozens of countries, and really in some ways, you find industry leaders across the globe, right? Depending on which sector and technologies and challenges, innovation, you name it. But drone technology, Jenny, I've really enjoyed some of the stories that's truly cutting edge, and how drones are being used, and certain technologies being used across the Africa supply chain ecosystem. Okay, I want to switch gears, and I'm going to ask you not a very fair question, Jenny, but I want to share this image first. I just found this morning. Who is this talking head last year? Oh man, it is scary, isn't it? So Jenny gave us an opportunity to share a message on the front end of last year's, when we couldn't be there in person, and we had a lot of fun sharing in the enthusiasm and the kindred spirits that really make up the SAPICS community. Jenny, back to the unfair question though. You've got no shortage of sessions and speakers and reasons to attend, but if you had to pick a couple, right, what comes to mind, Jenny, for the 47th SAPICS conference?
So one of the really exciting things, I think, is the involvement of the Demand Driven Institute with Demand Driven World. It's the first time that this event has taken place in Africa. Carol Patak, who I'm quite sure a lot of you know of as a real industry leader, woman in supply chain management, who has been a real trailblazer. She doesn't like it when I say that, but it's true. And she's going to be at the conference for the first time in a long time. So that's super exciting. Obviously, we've got Scott Luton, who's going to be there, which is really exciting. And we've also got another industry, really recognized a person, Linda Reddy, who she's the supply chain director for Nando's, which I know there's one in Chicago. I don't think there's one in Georgia. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure where in America they are. But it's a very well-known South African brand that we're exceptionally proud of. And she is one of those hugely motivational people. If you don't follow Linda on LinkedIn, do yourself a favor and do it, because she asks the difficult questions and gets you thinking, not just about supply chain, but about life in general. And I think that will be a really exciting addition to the conference program, to say nothing of all the other exciting stuff.
Jenny, I'm with you. I love the couple that you picked, and there's so many more to your point. And we're not putting these in any kind of order, folks. And Trisha and Amanda, if you would be so kind, first off, thank you for what you do behind the scenes. But if y'all could drop the link to the speakers, I think Enrique just shared that behind the scenes. Let's drop that so folks can take a look. Enrique, going back to some of the things that Jenny was sharing, Carol Patak, which is a Hall of Famer in supply chain, is interesting. Thank you for mentioning me, but it's like you got Elvis or you got Alanis Morissette. I don't know why that name came to my mind. True Hall of Famers. And then you got me. But folks, a lot of great speakers and sessions. And then, of course, Linda, Jenny mentioned as well. Enrique, what'd you hear there? What makes you want to book your travel today?
Well, first and foremost, we do have Nando's in Atlanta. It's somewhat recent. It is amazing. So highly recommended if you're in Atlanta. Then some of the other speakers, of course, Bremer Paul, Director Africa, DHL Supply Chain. I mean, DHL, big player around the world. Of course, is going to be there. And again, Africa having its own complexity to deliver products will be interesting to hear. And there's plenty of other people. So, yes, I saw briefly that I think you did drop the link to the speakers.
Yes, I sure did.
And so definitely if the speakers are not motivation enough for you, just the fact that there's going to be people from like around 40 countries around the world there, and just the fact that Jenny is involved should be more than enough to book the flights right away.
It's like a stamp of approval if Jenny's involved. It's like, it's going to be well done, and you're gonna be around a wonderful community of people. So not only are you going to learn from the sessions, but you're going to have fun, and you're going to network, and you're going to leave with countless pages of
and it's a
in practice.
Beautiful country too, Scott. So if you're going to have the chance to go, it's amazing. So highly recommend.
Well,
I will say that the thing that you pinpointed is the community, and the community really is outstanding. And there is something, I mean, you saw it at Manifest, you see it at every one of these in-person events that we go to, where there is something so exceptional about getting a group of people who have immediately one thing in common, and that's supply chain management. And there's an atmosphere that is very hard to describe unless you've experienced it. It's the same for every industry, I know, but this is ours, and this is what makes us passionate about it, is the gathering of the community each year.
It's the best part. I missed it last year. We made it 2 years ago, missed it last year, and I will be back in June. I cannot wait. Speaking of Jenny and Enrique, I tell you, storytelling is one of the early nominees for theme of the year. I've spoken more about storytelling so far this year. And you know what, Jenny? We're going to be talking more about it, because one of the mini sessions that you and I and the whole team are collaborating on is to, instead of a more traditional keynote or presentation or whatever, inspired by a great series called The Moth. Folks, go out and check out The Moth. And it's not science fiction. Think of how the moth is attracted to light, right? Positivity, stories, you name it. We're going to have a little supply chain storytelling session where we're going to hand the mic to 3 or 4 folks that are going to really share a very transparent, authentic portion of their journey. And Jenny, I cannot wait. How about you?
Yeah, no, really excited.
I am too.
Really excited.
Our dear friend Alan Jacques is here with us. Alan, hope this finds you well up there. Our friends in Canada says Roddy Martin would have been a great guest. Rest his soul. That's right.
Yes,
Big loss to industry. Alan, great point there.
Yeah, he was a speaker for several years. Very well respected.
He will be missed for sure. All right. So, as if that's not all of that about SAPICS is enough good stuff and good news, Jenny, we have got the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards coming up for now the 4th year in a row.
I know.
I'm going to share a couple of dates with folks to make sure we plug it in. The ASCEA, one of our favorite new acronyms. Entries close, folks, the 17th of April. So get them in. And secondly, the awards banquet for the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards will be on the 7th of August. But now that we got that out, Jenny, I'm backing up for a second. Share a little bit of information around last year's winners.
Yeah, so we had some amazing and diverse winners. Things that you don't really think about from a supply chain point of view. One of the ones that won the Judges Spotlight Award was the Luton Commission based in Eswatini, where they basically delivered a submission that was all about supply chain excellence, saving lives. And I think that's something a lot of us don't really think about. I know COVID brought front of mind, how did these injections get to us? But there's a whole bigger picture. And they're an organization that doesn't sit back and say, oh, shame, I've got a problem. Can somebody please help me? They get up and do it themselves. So their story about building their own oxygen manufacturing plant during COVID, because there is no oxygen manufactured in Eswatini, is something that really struck a lot of the judges, and a lot of us really admired their tenacity and their spirit, etc., etc. And then there was another winner, which was the movement of vultures. And again, we don't think about supply chain being so important in this. And these birds are sensitive creatures, and they had to be relocated. What do you need to do? You need to get in a really good logistics provider to help you move the birds. And so that's what they did, and that was a really fabulous story. But equally, there are others that involve rail and involve procurement and involve all the challenges that we face on the continent to really be able to have effective supply chains. And what we try to do is build the confidence in local capabilities, because there's some fabulous, fabulous work being done out there, that people don't really look at Africa as having strong supply chains. And that's something that we have to change that narrative.
Oh, Jenny, I'd love to talk for 3 hours just about your response. Enrique, going back to 2 things, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. First off, the Luton Commission, we've had them on the show before. And when you think about the power of supply chain leadership, and you think about literally, for my dear Brantley, literally life and death, literally the longevity and the health of a population. Eswatini, folks, if you're geographically challenged like I am, is a small country down in South Africa, just to the northeast of South Africa. I'm looking over on the map over here, and just to the south of Kruger National Park, which you may hear a lot about. And that is a remarkable story. So check out the Luke Commission. And then secondly, on a lighter note, Enrique, you had me at birds, Jenny. You know, I'm a big old bird nerd.
Yeah.
But, kidding aside, a lot of folks may not appreciate the criticality of vultures, and how they keep us all healthy and protected, and, what they do, what they're put on earth to do. So taking care of vulture populations is really important. Enrique, what'd you hear there?
Well, I didn't know that they were that important, but now I know. And also, I'm sure you got how you were talking about storytelling. And then, of course, Jenny made the whole story about the birds and how she could actually highlight the importance of supply chains in that amazing continent by using a great story. So,
Thank you.
And Jenny, you should teach classes on that. I think you are a wonderful storyteller, and we've got to get better as an industry, as supply chain practitioners. We got to get better at that. And as Jenny points out, Eswatini used to be Swaziland. Is that right, Jenny?
Yeah, that's correct.
That might ring a few bells for folks too, but love those real stories of innovation and outcomes that you're going to find at the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Award. So folks, I want to make sure, we're by the numbers here. Entries closed. There's still time to nominate. Got about almost a month and a half to nominate. So do that. And then the banquet, you can attend there in person. The banquet's coming up on the 7th of August, and we're dropping the link to the awards, which will do this right here, ascea.co.za. And you can learn a whole bunch more right there. Is that right, Jenny?
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. And if I can just say one thing about the judges, because they make up, they're really the backbone of this. And they are a group of incredibly diligent, total volunteers who are supply chain experts in their own right. But what they do is they don't just judge. They mentor, they guide, and they're managed by the fabulous Liesl Devet, who keeps the thing on the straight and narrow. But really, the judges they give back so much, and that's really what the intention of this is to give back to the community. And you saw it's by the industry for the industry, and that's what it's all about.
Well said.
If I may say something to complement that, we ship to Africa a lot and also inside Africa. And it's just the things that you face in the continent. It's some of the things that are just amazing. So when it comes to the Supply Chain Excellence Award, I really think that some of the companies out there in Africa and actually managing and challenging situations like the bird situation are really second to none around the world. So
yes,
very important.
I completely agree, Enrique. And we can get some of y'all's stories out there, customer stories. For example, Books for Africa, one of our favorites. They were a winner also last year, Jenny and Enrique. Well know the great folks over at Books for Africa, right? All right.
Absolutely. Shout out to Patrick and the team.
That's right. And if you're ever up in Minneapolis and you want to enjoy a fascinating conversation and delicious food, look up Patrick and the Books for Africa team. They've been at it for a long time. I want to say, Enrique and Jenny, I want to say 30. I don't want to shortchange anybody.
At least 30. No, you're right.
Millions of books have been sent.
Yep.
What an excellent thing. Okay, for the sake of time, I got to move us ahead. Connor. Hey, Connor is sharing background information on that vulture relocation. Connor, I knew I liked you for a certain reason. Also, a short video on that process. Love that. And T Squared says, hey, storytelling isn't just limited to business analysis. It's definitely a must-do for a supply chain management value proposition. That is right, T Squared. Well said. Okay, I'm not going to do this justice, but I do want to mention this because it's someone we both admire, Jenny, and that is, folks, we need your help. We've got a wonderful friend that's leading a powerful research project, and she's gathering responses from around the world. Dr. Ramatu Abdul Kadir is leading a global survey and research project on talent management and workforce development for logistics and supply chain professionals. And we need your input, right? We need your input. So we're dropping the link to this survey. Enrique took it this morning. I think I took it over the weekend. And it really, folks, it'll take, 5 minutes of your time? Is that right, Enrique?
7 at the most.
7 at the most. And folks, the research will come out of this. I'm telling you, it's going to be actionable. So stay tuned on that. Trisha has shared a link to the survey. So check that out. And Christy says, hey, Books for Africa remains the largest shipper of donated text and library books to the African continent, shipping over 60 million books to all 55 countries on the African continent since 1988. How about that? Quick math
Amazing.
tells me 12, 37 years. 37 years. How about that? Okay, Jenny, I wish we had booked you for a double episode here. There's too much to talk about. But really admire what you do for industry, you and your team, and all the work in your incredibly long and proven track record. I can't wait to see you in person in June. How can folks connect with you, Jenny Froome?
LinkedIn. There we go. Aren't they brilliant? Amanda and Trisha, fantastic. There's my LinkedIn. It's the best way to contact me.
Right there, folks. Check that out. Jenny Froome, always a pleasure, director with Upavon Management. Folks, connect with Jenny, follow Jenny, and come see her in Cape Town in June. Thanks so much, Jenny Froome.
Thank you both so very much.
You bet. See you soon.
Bye.
One of the best, Enrique. One of the best. I'm telling you.
She's great.
She's great. Folks, sometimes I talk in, is it hyperbole? I say that right, Enrique? Sometimes I do. But I meant every single syllable with Jenny Froome. I'm telling you, I'm convinced she's got a couple clones because her and the team stay really busy, but they do such a great job connecting the world. All right, a couple quick comments here. Let's see. Hey, Michael, tuned in from Nigeria via LinkedIn. Great to see you. Give us your take on some of these topics we've talked about. Hey, David, it's been too long. Great to see you. He says, what if we're too long-winded, Enrique? That's okay, right, Enrique?
Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I am way too long-winded, and Enrique puts up with me. So, and great to see you as well. David says, great to see you both, Jenny and Enrique. Thanks for a great hour as always. Well, David, great to see you. I'm going to sneak something in. Two quick things in before we wrap. Number one, Enrique, what is your favorite takeaway from the Jenny Froome segment from earlier today? Just one. I got 18, but just one.
There's plenty of notes that I took, but just the fact that she continues to organize this for SAPICS after 29 years, she said, it's just unbelievable. And just a testament of like her excellence doing it.
Well said, my friend. Well said. So folks, please seek out Jenny if you are at the same event, and come see us in Cape Town at SAPICS, the 47th annual conference. And David, I guess he says he wasn't pointing fingers. Hey, I'll just mess
it was
around.
Completely there, right here. I'll do it for you, David.
Thank you. Oh man, I am. But David, great to see you. All right, Enrique, we got one more big thing I want to share, and I want to celebrate this with you and the Vector Global Logistics team, because your organization, Vector Global Logistics, is celebrating their 1-year anniversary of the company's hard-fought B Corp certification. That is tough to get, and it's something that should be celebrated. So tell us, if you would, 2 questions to follow up with this. Number one, Enrique, what does B Corp mean? What's the so what there? Tell us more.
Yeah, B certified corporations are basically dedicated to maximize the stakeholder value as opposed to shareholder value. So it means that you are committed legally and throughout the organization to make a positive impact in our communities, in our planet, in the world. And we believe strongly that by doing the right things for the right reasons, then all the economic profits and revenues and money will come. So it's that's what the B Corps are all about, and that's what the B Corp movement and community is so important in the world.
Outstanding. And folks, this is a snapshot from the Vector Global Logistics profile page on the B Corp site. We're dropping some links right here so you can learn a lot more. But I got to ask you, Enrique, prestigious certification, purpose-driven certification, which I like even better, because that's, since the first time we met, that was Enrique Alvarez. First thought that comes to mind is how purpose-driven you and the team are. How are y'all going to celebrate?
Well, we have different things planned. Christy, who I believe is listening to this, can tell you a little bit more, but it's really both outside with the B community, and then also internally, we have a couple of really fun contests for our team. We're very proud. We are humble to be part of such an amazing community, and so we're going to take this very seriously, and we'll also celebrate hard because the team at Vector earned it, and I'm just happy to be part, and they let me be part of their company. So thanks to the team. Congratulations to everyone at Vector. This is a huge, huge milestone, and look forward to many, many years being a B Corp.
Love that. On the lighter side, it should have been named A Plus Corp, but we'll have to learn the story of why I was named the B Corp later. But kidding aside, folks, one thing you definitely got to check out is Logistics with Purpose, a wonderful podcast that Enrique and Christy and the whole team have been leading for years now. They celebrated their 100th episode last year, and I'm telling you, these are some of the most uplifting, purpose-driven, outcomes driving, life-changing conversations that you'll ever find on podcasts anywhere. So find Logistics with Purpose wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So Enrique, if folks want to track you down, where can folks find you?
Best way is probably through LinkedIn, but also through the Vector website at vectorgl.com.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We're dropping links about Vector's special 1-year anniversary. We're dropping links to Enrique on LinkedIn. And you'll find, I promise you, much like Jenny, you'll find Enrique at some of the leading conferences around the globe. So make sure you go up and shake his hand. And if you're lucky, you might have a beer and some good food with you. We'll see. Hey, as we start to wrap here today on a very special episode of The Buzz, I promised y'all to meet and talk with and hear from two of the most positive outcomes driving leaders across the industry. And I think we've delivered there because Enrique and Jenny are special. So I want to thank Jenny Froome with Upavon Management. Also want to thank Enrique Alvarez. Be sure to check out SAPICS, check out the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards, check out Vector Global Logistics, and Logistics with Purpose, the podcast. Of course, Enrique, we got to thank Amanda and Trisha behind the scenes that make what we do very possible. And of course, big thanks to all the global audience for being here today. Really appreciate Michael and David and so many others that came in and shared their perspective. That's one of my favorite parts of our live programming. Enrique, there is homework for our audience today. I hope I don't ruin anybody's day, but there is homework. Folks, you got to take one thing, just one thing you heard here today from Enrique and Jenny, share it with your team. You can put it in practice. And that's how we change industry, right? Deeds, not words. No one's got time for lip service leadership. So with all of that said, on behalf of the incredible Supply Chain Now team that I'm so grateful to be part of, this is Scott Luton. Challenge you, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. We'll see you next time right back here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.